CEO of the USGA, Mike Whan. Congratulations, Mike, on this anniversary edition of the US Women's Open. I know the USGA this year received 1,904 entries into this championship, which is second to only Pebble Beach, which is understandable. But what kind of a signal is that to you about the growth of this championship and really how it sets the bar to how women's majors should be played?
Well, the growth of this championship is really just mimicking the growth of the game as it relates to women. Now a third of the people who play this game in America are women. And I can tell you from my previous job, I never thought I'd be able to say something like that. Last year, of all the people who started in the game for the first time, 40% of them are women. So the growth in this game in America is really being driven by women. And we want this to be a showcase for that growth and to have young women all around the world to aspire to make it to places like this. When you drive down this driveway, it feels like something special is going on, and it is. And so, yeah, I'm excited to be part of it. For 12 years, I got to listen to players on tour talk about getting to the U.S. Open, and so it's really exciting to know that when they get here now, I'm standing on the range to be the first to give them a hug.
And you had a great quote yesterday. You said, if women's golf were a stock,
I'd buy it.
You'd buy it. Made the rounds everywhere, and I knew you'd give us details on that. I want to talk to you also about another initiative of the USGA. When we look at the prolific success of up-and-coming players, professional players from countries that have a fraction of the population of the United States, Scandinavian countries, South Korea, even Australia, it's largely due, I think you could agree, to their developmental programs. Now, that's something that the USGA did not have until 2023. Can you give us some details about the developmental program and maybe some of the players that we can hope to see in the future?
It's a great point, Brandon. I appreciate you shedding a light on it. When I was at the LPGA as commissioner, I was actually floored and really surprised that virtually every woman on that tour came out of a country program unless she was an American, where there wasn't a country program. And I'll admit, most of those country programs around the world are funded by the government, so I think that never really was taken off here. But I remember saying to the USGA many times when I was the LPGA commissioner, I wish you could help. It was difficult as the LPGA commissioner, where half my members were international, to say, tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a bunch of money, we're going to build a U.S. development program. Right. But when I got to the USGA, I said, we're going now. And so we built a program that's only 18, 24 months old that's going to help young men and women. If they've got a dream and if they got that kind of talent, we're going to help coach them in terms of getting, not replace their coach relationship, but we've got 500 athletes now that are being impacted by the program. About 110 of them are getting financial support. They have to kind of prove that they are in need of financial support. We have, I think by this time next year, we'll have over 30 state teams happening. So there'll be a Georgia team and a Florida team and a Wisconsin team, all leading to Team USA. And we're really proud of the fact that we're coaching all aspects of the game. We're not just talking about how they hit putts or ball contact. We're talking about the mental aspect and what it feels like and getting to know other superstar athletes in other states so they can learn from each other, and really honored by how many other stakeholders have jumped in. The AJGA, PGA of America, LPGA teaching professionals, and state and regional associations have really what's made this happen so fast. But I never would have told you 2 years ago we'd already be at 500 athletes and 100 of them being helped. We're on our way to a couple thousand athletes with 500 or 600 of them being granted.
Great initiative. Thank you.
Mike, this is an exciting and pivotal time in the women's professional game with the LPGA just last week naming a new commissioner. I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about your time, because I feel like the first 100 days, there's a lot that's made of that, and when a new leader takes over. When you look back at when you took over the LPGA in your first 100 days, what are some of the things that you think you did in that time period that really set you up for success, set the tour up for success?
Well, I mean, whether or not that set me up for success or not is for you guys to decide, but you know me well enough to know that I don't do a good job of keeping my mouth closed and my ears open. And in that first 100 days, I forced myself not to be the answer man. And when you first walk in, everybody wants to know what you think. Do you think we should go right or left, start or go? Should we fund this, not fund this? And you're new and you really want to provide that direction, but you're really not capable of quality direction just yet. Until you hear the voices, it takes me back to high school football quarterback, where a coach saying, this team's not ready to follow you yet, because you don't hear their voices, you only hear yours. And so when I got to the LPGA, I wanted to make sure I heard their voices. And that was players, sponsors, former players, media partners. I really felt like I had to hear what other people were saying about the LPGA, so that when we got started down a new direction, I wanted some of that direction to be their voice, not just my voice. And I was proud of that. I've had a lot of great conversations with Craig along the way, some business and some personal. He's got young kids. I had young kids. He's got a wife who's probably scared to death of his travel schedule. I know mine was. So we've kind of worked through some of that in terms of how do you become a great dad and a great commissioner, because that's a balance that I told him you'll fight that balance your whole career. But the good news is every woman on this tour feels that fight too. So you'll have a lot of other people to kind of share that with. But he's got tons of energy. He knows a lot of people in the industry. He's a great listener, which nobody has ever accused me of being. And so I think he's got real potential to be. And for the first time in a while, I walked down the range here on Tuesday, and the excitement on the range about him was noticeable. And I haven't had a chance to tell him that yet, but there's a real excitement, and I'm excited for him that it already exists.
But I think part of that excitement, Mike, and it's not just because you're sat at the desk, it's because a lot of the LPGA members and the media and everyone is seeing some similarities in him to you in terms of his charisma and his communication and his drive. I mean, you were able to achieve something which is so difficult to do, which I think is to really garner the support and inspire the members of the LPGA, and they wanted to do well for you. How did you do that? Because if you're going to make a change on the LPGA, for example, with slow play, they have to want to do it. So how did you achieve that? Yeah,
the only change I'd say in your statement is they didn't really want to do well for me. They wanted to do well for the next generation. There's a feeling that sits at the LPGA that doesn't sit at a lot of other sports. So what I mean by that is these women realize they're here because women before them probably played for a lot less money on a lot lesser golf courses and a lot less TV coverage, but they did it so that their daughters would have a better opportunity. And every woman on that range and every woman who's playing right now feels a little sense of responsibility to make sure her daughters have an easier path. And so once you understand that they carry that weight, I mean, as a guy who played a lot of sports, I never had that weight. My 3 sons never worried about the future of college football or junior hockey, but they really did. And so when we started talking about what are we going to do to make sure that your daughters have a better life out here and if they want to pursue this career, it was easy to all of us start running downhill, because when a player would say, how can I help you this week, Commish? The answer can't be, oh, you just play golf, I got the business. Yeah. They actually want you to give them some work. You know how you could help me? And whatever you tell them to do, they would go do and kind of report back. And once I realized that I had an army helping and it didn't really matter, as long as I had them all kind of pulling on the same rope, I just got to stand at the podium and take credit for a lot of their work. But it's a group that really wants to leave the game better for women. And once you tap into that, and Craig will, he'll realize that this is not about him at all. This is about making sure that the next generation are sitting at stages like this, talking about bigger purses, bigger venues, more TV, and that's possible with the momentum we've created in the game.
Well, since you've hit on it, Mike, you and the USGA have given the women just a fantastic stage here, a great stage. But looking ahead, because I know the initiative is to go to some traditional, historic, meaningful venues. So can you talk about some future venues that the U.S. Women's Open is going to?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just talking to a different tour player yesterday about, I love your lineup on the Women's U.S. Open. I thought that's so great to hear. But so next year we'll be at Riviera, the site for the 28 Olympics. Women playing Riviera is going to be amazing. From there we'll go to Inverness and Toledo. If you watch the Solheim Cup in Toledo, you can expect that to be a standing room only kind of crowd. Then we'll be at Oakmont, someplace that we'll be spending a little bit of time talking about in a couple weeks, back with the women at Oakmont. And then from there we're back to back in Pinehurst in 29. So think about that lineup for the next 5 years. And so some of the great, as John Bodenheimer would say, some of the great cathedrals of the game that have been known for some of the greatest shots in men's golf are now going to be known for some of the greatest shots in women's golf. Can't wait to take them to some of these amazing venues.
Mike, I love all your participation numbers for women's golf and the direction that it's going. I think the million-dollar question oftentimes is, how do we get more people watching? How do we increase visibility? How do you get those new recreational women to tune into the LPGA? How has your answer to that question evolved over the years?
Well, what's funny is when I was sitting at the U.S. Open's press conference last year, I was getting the questions of, how do you feel about the fact that men's TV golf ratings are waning? And I said, don't talk to me about a month or about an event or about what happened last week on NBC or CBS. Let's look at this thing as a total. And with golf growing like never before, there's going to be more viewers. And now we jump forward to this spring where viewership has really taken off again. I feel the same way about the women. I don't care what it's like this week or last year or one weekend or what it's going to be like at another women's major. When you see what's happening with the game and women starting to love what we all love about this game, the future of women's viewership it's set. It's going to be there. So let's not get caught up on 1 week or 1 day, because the first thing that has to happen is a new wave of people have to love this game. That's happened, and now they're going to start following this game. And like I've said this many times, when Caitlin Clark came to basketball, everyone said, oh my God, it's amazing. Look at the viewership numbers. Now, if we could only get participation to follow that, we just went in reverse order. We blew up on participation. We'll have our Caitlin Clark TV moments. They're coming because we've already done the hardest part, which is get the amateur group to jump in such a big way.
Well, Mike, the way that you talk about this game, especially the women's game, is just so inspiring. And we thank you, for the energy that you bring and all the hard work that you put into, especially this week at the US Women's Open. So thank you for your time and have a brilliant week. It's looking like a beautiful day and a beautiful weekend.
Thanks for being here and making this event even bigger for all of us. We appreciate it.
Fantastic.